this is part of the video that I'm gonna cut. That was a bad take. This is a bad take. Hello everyone. Today I am primarily playing with colored lights, but also answering your questions. I have them all right here. I wanted to do a more scripted video, but some technical difficulties have been getting in the way. But I wanted to start making videos a bit more consistently, so I am playing around with some production things. I cannot, for the life of me, get this green screen to work. I mean, like, I know how to do the software part of it, but lighting this thing, it's just not happening right now, and we're trying to figure it out. But instead, at least for this video, my hand's just gonna pass behind the things that I have right here, and that's okay. So we're gonna get into some questions and hopefully play around with the production a little bit. So after you finish watching, or even right away if you enjoy my blue and red face, leave a comment, tell me what you think about some of the production. Also, sorry for the wet hair. And also comment about what I say. So let's get started. So we are starting off heavy, I guess. I was asked, have you ever confronted your own mortality? And I mean, I'm pretty young, so like, it's not a constant thing, but it's definitely something I've thought about. I think that everyone does at some point. Once you kind of figure out that this isn't gonna last forever, you kind of think about it for a bit. So yeah, I've definitely thought about it. Interestingly enough, as you guys know, I like narrative and storytelling a lot. So I often find a way to deal with things or look at things through the stories that I experience. And for this conflict in particular, I actually really appreciate Arya, which is kind of weird. They don't really talk about death at all, but it's a lot to do with the inescapable march of time and how things are going to end in a very broad sense, and I found its messaging on that to be very applicable to how I view the ephemeral nature of life, if you will. So if you are struggling with this and don't want to really think explicitly about it, then a show about being a gondolier might work. Definitely recommend Arya. Bigger DILF, Ewan McGregor or Ethan Hawke? Gotta go with Ewan McGregor. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm that age where grew up with the prequels. Definitely Ewan McGregor. All right, someone asked it. Top 5 Hunter x Hunter characters. Let us be controversial. I don't know anyone who is going to fully agree with my list, but let's do it. Starting at number 5, we have Yuppie. I don't know his full name, so we're just going to call him Yuppie. Number 4, Karapika. Number 3, Gon. Number 2, Killua. And number 1, Marilyn. What makes a good dynamic for you? This is a very broad, but also interesting question. I think usually the dynamics that I really love are the ones that I can get very emotionally invested in. Something where these two characters have some sort of relationship and I'm really feeling these things alongside the characters. I think of like Utena and Anthe or Nana and Hachi. Someone like the cast of Gintama. A lot of cast members in Fruits Basket. A whole ton. We could go on and on forever like that. I also really love characters where their dynamic might not necessarily be emotional, but in some way they're challenging each other with what they stand for, what they're trying to do. In some way, this like intellectual or philosophical contrast or similarities is really driving the story and elevating both their characters. Some of the more interesting ones will often be like hero versus villain dynamics. Usually a villain should challenge the hero in some way, whether it be like intellectually, philosophically. Usually I like them to challenge our hero in some way past just the plot. But there are a lot of fantastic dynamics that do that. Pretty much any fantastic villain is going to do that. Someone like Funny Valentine or Ogi or Kirei or someone like this. There's some that aren't necessarily villains that are very interesting dynamics. Like I really like Michael and Vito Corleone from The Godfather, specifically Part 2. I'm not necessarily like emotionally invested in them, but their parallel stories through Part 2 makes for a really fantastic dynamic that does add to both their stories, but particularly Michael's. So there's a lot of ways for a dynamic to be good. I guess I'd say the like absolute best ones, like Utena and Anthe is like the best. That's just doesn't get better than that. Kind of does all three, so you can do one or multiple of these different ways. So they're all fantastic. There are a lot of great dynamics, and there are a lot of ways to make great dynamics that I'm not even covering. People can get very creative with it, and I love that. Do you have a favorite cartoon from childhood? I don't really have like a one favorite. I definitely liked a lot of cartoons as a kid. SpongeBob was definitely one of them, so there you go. I also really like Spider-Man the Animated Series, which the 1994 one is something I watched a lot as a kid. I adore that series. I've seen it like 6 or 7 times. I'm considering saying Teen Titans because I definitely watched it and enjoyed it a lot as a kid, but I kind of forgot most of it. I recently rewatched it and I really liked it, so I'll say Teen Titans too. That was really good. And then I think that's kind of it, though. There are definitely some other great kid shows that like I just didn't watch as a kid. So like Cardcaptor Sakura is fantastic. The Spectacular Spider-Man is fantastic. I really like She-Ra, maybe not as much as those other two, but that was really good too. So if you're looking for kid shows, then those 6, definitely recommend them. Have you seen any Indian movies? If so, what's your favorite? I have not, unfortunately. I know that India has a large film industry, so if you have any recommendations, send them my way, please. Why you look like Jesus? I most certainly do not look like Jesus, but yeah, I look like popular depictions of him, and it's kind of interesting to me. I mean, I'm not Christian or particularly religious at all, but I always kind of like Jesus. He's got some cool lines in there. You know, long-haired Jewish dude. Got some good quotes. Pretty left-wing politics. I really like let he who is without sin cast the first stone. It's a nice little quote there. So Jesus is pretty cool. I definitely don't look like him, but I guess I don't mind the being compared to him. Advice for people to get into YouTube content creation. I don't know. I need that advice. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't even figure this green screen out. Like, I don't like the lighting is way more complicated than anyone ever told me. And I have no idea how I'm gonna edit this thing. I've done some video editing before, so like, we'll make it work, but learn about lighting and editing. I guess that's my advice, but if anyone has some advice for me, please let me know, because I don't know. Would you be interested in making a piece of art? If so, any specific mediums? I've definitely toyed with the idea a lot over the years. I suppose if I had to pick a medium, it'd probably be a book, just because it's something that I could actually do. Not that I necessarily have all the time and energy for it, but practically I could write a book right now. Instead I'm doing this. I couldn't really make some sort of movie. I mean, I guess I could, but it'd be much more difficult to make a movie or something like that. So if I do make a piece of art, it'll likely be a book, but ideally, if I could just have my way, I would much rather have a TV show. Sort of when I go through different story ideas in my mind, it's usually as a TV show. I kind of am most familiar with that medium, so when I think about like some of the more specifics in terms of how certain things would be expressed or presented, it's usually within this sort of visual media, and how, like, I think about how I'd frame certain scenes, or like what music would be playing, how like from what angle this would be shot as, how I'd want the characters to look, all this kind of stuff that isn't really present in something like a book, but I would probably end up writing a book because I can. I do have some story ideas. Like, I have one that I've been kind of thinking about a bit about. It's kind of generic. It's this girl getting over what was kind of an unhealthy relationship, but because of how that relationship affected her, kind of struggling to get into a new relationship with her current, more healthy partner, and her kind of being torn between these two and this sort of like love triangle going on. So that's my story idea I've been kind of thinking about. We'll see where it goes. If, hey, maybe in a couple of years, I'll just be like, buy my book. But for now, watch my videos. Someone asked, what does success emerge from? Passion or obsession? I think this is actually an interesting question because it really depends on how you define success. So to me, I would say passion. Because I would define success as being something that is rewarding to the individual and healthy for them. If you drive yourself to a point that isn't healthy, then I wouldn't consider you necessarily successful. So I think that obsession, if you achieve something great out of this unhealthy obsession with it, then I wouldn't necessarily call that a success. I think that people should value themselves a bit more and not just think about purely the things they achieve. People achieve great things, and that is fantastic, but I think that oftentimes that obsession can maybe not be worth it for that person, and so I wouldn't consider that necessarily a personal success. But if you define success differently, then maybe you'd pick obsession. Is there a movie you could watch over and over? Not really a movie, but I do watch FLCL every year. At least once a year. I've done several times in 1 year, and that's sort of a 2-hour chunk of time on a story, so like kind of like a movie. And I've seen that, I think, 18 or 19 times now, so I guess FLCL, if you count that. If you don't count that, I've probably seen Monty Python the Holy Grail like around 15 times. It's complete nonsense, but it's my type of nonsense, so I will end up laughing hysterically at something I know is coming, but didn't think was funny the first 15 times, every single time I watch it. So I guess that one too. I got asked thoughts on House of the Dragon, and also how does it compare to season 1 of Game of Thrones. I'm really loving House of the Dragon, actually. I mean, like, you know, it has its issues for sure, but I think it's a lot better than Game of Thrones Season 1 in pretty much all regards. I really like Rhaenyra as our lead. I'm really excited to see where her character goes. I think that the dynamic between her and Alicent is really interesting, and I really hope that they lean into the clear feelings they have for each other that we saw in the beginning, but also were called upon in these last 2 episodes. So I think, at least I hope they will go in that direction. I think that could be something that would make for the story to be really interesting. I expect it to be better than Game of Thrones. I expect it to be better than the best Game of Thrones ever was by the time it ends. I have limitless faith in House of the Dragon, I guess. I really enjoyed it. Birks or slides. I've never worn Birks. I am an avid fan of slides, though, so gotta go with slides. Favorite cereal? Cinnamon Toast Crunch, obviously. How long will I keep posting on this page? Referring to my Instagram page where I asked all these questions. I know some people stop at some point. I don't necessarily have a plan to stop. I've definitely slowed down, which I'm sorry about. But I don't always have like the best post ideas, because I feel like Instagram posts are more reliant on how like aesthetically pleasing they are, which is not really my strong suit here. So again, we're trying to figure all this stuff out. So hopefully everything looks okay right now. But then also, because they're much more focused on aesthetics, people aren't necessarily looking for writing as much. So I found that some of the things I want to go into that require a bit more of a lengthy exploration aren't really things that I put into an Instagram post. And so that is kind of stifling in a way and has prevented how much I want to post on Instagram. What my current plan is in terms of posting over there and also on here is that as I write a YouTube video script, so like I have been writing scripts and I've been enjoying them a lot, and being able to do that with having more space to work in and really go through the things I want to talk about in a longer form than I can do on an Instagram post. My plan is that as I release a video like that, I will also alongside it release a Instagram post that is related in some way. So like I am working, or at least I have someone else working on the editing for my Fate Stay Night video that's really focused on Shiro and his character. But when I release that, I plan to do an Instagram post like ranking the Fate characters or ranking fights or something, like some sort of ranking within Fate that is something that's, I think, more suited to what people on Instagram want to see. So there's that. So I kind of do plan to post a bit more on Instagram, hopefully in the near future, because I'd like to kind of be able to pump out videos a bit faster. I'm also working on a review of Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. So whenever I finish that, I have the script written. I just need to edit it and also record it. So whenever I finish that, I plan to release some sort of Instagram post about that album, maybe like a track ranking or something, or maybe just some like quick thoughts that I have on the album that either didn't make it into the video or like some sort of like bullet points of the video. But definitely planning on continuing posting on Instagram. I also really like doing stuff on my story, so it's a little annoying that I'm doing this video because I'm kind of taking away from answering these questions on my story, but I figured that this would be good to kind of like test out YouTube like a bit. This is my first video without Mark. It's weird. I mean, he's still here. Like, he's going to be in videos and making his own videos and everything. It's just, it's a little weird. I haven't made a video without him yet, but I have a bunch of scripts that I've kind of written myself, so that'll become a more common occurrence, and I'm trying to get all this stuff production-y things going, and to make them look a little better. So I guess that's where all my online presence energy has been going. So yeah, definitely gonna still be on Instagram for at least the foreseeable future. And also on YouTube now. Also on YouTube. Make sure to, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things. Maybe I'll have links to, like, some other stuff to do. So if there are links down there, go click them. Go, I don't know, do it. Just do it.